Hello, thank you for joining us today. Today we were talking about the homeless population in Morrison County. I'm Kathy Lang, the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity and also the Chairwoman of Faith Not Fear. Faith Not Fear is a group of concerned Christians that are focusing on homelessness in Morrison County. We also meet the fourth Monday of every month. If you would like to join us, please contact me. And we also support Oasis Central Minnesota, the only nonprofit that focuses on homelessness in our county. And we also support the JRLC, which is the Joint Religious Legislative Coalition in St. Paul. Today I have with me Commissioner Jeff Jelinski, and we will be questioning him on homelessness in Morrison County. So Jeff, with that, I would like to introduce you, and please tell us about yourself.
Sure. As you said, my name is Jeff Jelinski. I am a commissioner with Morrison County. I'm in my third term as a Morrison County commissioner. Terms are 4 years each, so
Okay.
I guess I'm just completing my 9th year as a commissioner. And with that being said, term is 4 years, so I've got 3 left to go. Prior background is, as you know, I worked with law enforcement, public safety for 33 and a half years. My last 7 years as the Morrison County Communications Supervisor. I ran the 911 center, was their emergency manager, and so on and so forth. As I've often said, and I've said it to you, I've said it to many, is that for 30 years I had the best job anybody could ever have. Weekends, holidays, holy days, 7 days a week, it didn't make any difference. I had the best job anyone could ever have. And then I got this job. Love what I do, love what I did.
That's awesome.
That's me.
Thank you so much for serving us for that many years. So on homelessness, I know it's a topic that we don't like to talk about, but let's get your take on it. What have you observed and seen in our county in regards to homelessness?
Well, the truth of the matter for today's conversation is homelessness here in Morrison County and our conversation today is going to be a double-edged sword. Because quite honestly, what's homelessness? Do you see homelessness? Do I see homelessness? Do I see poverty? And we can wrap that all into one. I don't see it here in Morrison County. If we turn on the TV news very often, and especially this time of the year, and it's building, we're going to see tent cities, maybe in Minneapolis, St. Paul, maybe in different large cities. I don't see that in Morrison County anywhere. I'm not suggesting for a second that it's not here. I personally don't see it. That's not to say that we don't have people sleeping in cars at night. That's not to say that there isn't a tent somewhere where somebody is sleeping in a tent or a box. But visibly, if we drive up and down the streets of any of our communities in Morrison County, and I'm not going to slight any of them by saying a name, any of our communities in Morrison County, it's my absolute belief that we don't see this. So it's very easy to out of sight, out of mind. It's not in existence. But it very truly, very, very much is in existence. Make no mistake, the farther that you and I dig into this topic, the farther we dig, we're going to both see that it's right here, it's right in front of us, it's here in Morrison County. Not only homelessness, but poverty.
Absolutely. And you're not alone. I myself was not really aware of the homelessness population we had up until a couple years ago when we really started to focus on it. So that's why we're here today, bringing the whole community aware of this problem, and we can solve it by community. So I know I was in front of the commissioners not long ago talking about this $10,000 housing trust fund and wondering, we'd like to form a task force as community-based. What are your thoughts? Do you have any ideas on what can be done with that funding? And I'll just explain. It's a one-to-one match of $150,000 that was passed by the Minnesota State Legislature last session.
And I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not up to date on it. I'm truly not. But I am very much up to date on if we don't sit down at a table, whether it's you and I, and a group of individuals, and it has to be a group of individuals, it
Right.
just isn't going to be you and I. a group of individuals to sit down and to actually converse about the topic. The day or the time of each one of us pointing a finger at one another or pointing a finger at someone else, suggesting that this isn't our problem, that day is long since past. This is not only our problem here in Morrison County, it's not only our problem in the state of Minnesota, but let's be honest about it. I like to say, and I hate to use the word epidemic, good grief, we've heard that way too much in the last couple of years, but homelessness and poverty, I believe that we can both say that's an epidemic, not necessarily here in Morrison County or the state of Minnesota. How about the United States? How about the country we live in? And then if we want to expand on that, I'm confident that we can find homelessness and poverty anywhere we want to look.
Absolutely. Do you think the role of businesses or the role of individuals, what part should we all play in that? Is it more advocacy legislatively, bringing it to the commissioner's attention, or what are your thoughts on that?
First of all, let's make no mistake. The businesses that we have here in Morrison County are probably second to none in giving. If there is someone that steps up to the plate and says, I'm in need, be it what it might be, businesses in Morrison County absolutely open their door and say, what is it that we can do? It's a very loaded thing to simply address this to a commissioner or the commissioners. Just simply addressing it, there's a lot of things on the plate at that point in time, and I know you know that. There's many things on the plate, and those green beans I'm not interested in, so we have to put something to the side. Let's put that to the side. It's easy to suggest homelessness and poverty, as we've talked, isn't here. So it's easy to push that to the side. But we know that it is here, and in order to bring that out more, anytime that we can bring anyone from the business community in a group to gather information, if you will, with elected officials, it's just not working with just locally. This problem is not just locally. So let's probably, maybe, get to the point and say, are we solving a local problem or are we solving a worldwide problem? And I think it's more than local. We have to get a lot of people involved and engaged and quit pointing fingers, because it's everybody's problem. That's kind of, I don't know if that answered what you exactly asked.
Yes.
But that's my take on it.
Yes. I guess as a part of Faith Not Fear, we've been talking about trying to raise money for a homeless shelter. Right now, Oasis has a duplex to have moms and children safely housed, and we would like to continue that. And I'd like to get Commissioner Jelinski's opinion on, what do you think about having a homeless shelter in Morrison County? Do you think it's needed? Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, the truth of the matter is I do have an opinion. Imagine that, huh? Is that you asked, so I certainly do.
Ask.
You know, for many years, and I've been on many different committees with you, Kathy, and I know you know that. But for anyone listening, we've talked many times, sometimes at length, of, in particularly, the St. Camillus building, and I hope I'm saying that right, the one that's next to St. Otto's,
Right.
As maybe the possibility of a homeless shelter.
Well, thank you for those comments. I know we were talking about St. Camillus Place as a possible homeless shelter, but it takes money to do that.
Absolutely. As I said, we've had conversations about that in particular facility, and if a portion of that $10 million that was
Correct.
appropriated from the state legislature, if a portion of that can be utilized for the purchase of a facility such as that, the renovation that's needed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and there can be buy-in from the community, and when I say the community, St. Camilla shelters in the city of Little Falls. I'm not talking about just the city of Little Falls as a community. This is a Morrison County conversation now, is to have that discussion. There's a buy-in, there's a dollar and cent buy-in, but we aren't going to be able to come up with that buy-in or what that exactly means until we sit down in a committee setting and come up with, it's going to cost XYZ to do this, or that the portion needed besides the state funding, let's just assume for a moment, hate to do that, but let's assume that we're going to get this big chunk of money from the legislature for homelessness. There's probably going to be a match or a required amount that needs to go with that. Can cities, can the county as one group come together and say, this truly is our issue. This isn't someone else's issue. So, and combine those resources for the possibility, maybe, for the reality one day of having that become a homeless shelter. As we talk more and more about homelessness, we don't have much in Morrison County for homelessness or for a homeless person. In fact, many times we kind of pass the buck. Go here or go there. Until it hits home. When that homeless person happens to be someone you know, or I know, or we know, it all of a sudden does strike home just a little bit harder.
Oh, absolutely. I agree totally. And we as a community want to continue to work on homelessness. We've targeted about 200 homeless as a number, that's an accurate number approximately, that are homeless every day in Morrison County. Is there anything else, Jeff, you'd like the community to know or be aware of? Or any suggestions that you have?
The suggestion, first of all, is going to be get involved with your community. Get involved at your local food shelves.
Exactly.
Get involved with community and start to understand that we don't live in this bubble. We actually live in a community, and actually we live in a very caring community. When's the last time that someone said they needed help and you said, no, I'm not going to help you? That's what people do. But we don't necessarily we're not all educated to what degree. And I certainly am not. I'm not pretending for one moment to suggest that I have all the answers for this. I don't. This is a big, and I'll go back to epidemic. Again, epidemic proportions of homelessness. And I guess what we have to remember is that when we find a mother that's living in her vehicle with her 3 children, and we both know that that's real.
It is
It's
real.
absolutely fact. What do? We have to step up to the plate. We have to fix this. I don't have all the answers for these questions. That is why we have social programs. That's why we have Habitat for Humanity. That's why OASIS is a viable organization. That's why we have conversation. That's why we can sit down in a group discussion, a committee discussion, if you will, with legislators, with city council people, with commissioners, with the public, and get into that think tank. It's our community. This is where we live. I live here. You live here. We all live here. This is a community that we have to remember it's ours. This is where we live. I truly want to say, get involved. Get engaged and stay engaged with your community. That to me probably sends such a giant message to anyone that wants to pay attention. How do I get involved? Goodness gracious. Talk to somebody. There's doors that can be open all over. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for your observation and your passion for our community and helping the homeless.
Thank you.
If you have any questions today, please give me a call. Our Habitat for Humanity office line is 320-616-2084. And I just want to tell you, we are building a home on the west side of town to a mom and her 2 children. And she basically was homeless. She was living on cots in a cousin's house Because of COVID, she couldn't afford to pay rent or utilities. And so please support Habitat for Humanity or give me a call if you have any questions on this segment today. Thank you and have a good day.